बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम वसल्लल्लाहु अला नबीयिल करीम रब्बि इश्रह ली सदरी वयस्सिर ली अमरी वहलुल उक़्दतम मिन लिसानी यफ़क़हू क़ौली। The theme for present talk is Road to Paradise. Road to Paradise. Paradise is the only goal of any human being, any man and woman. The history shows that in every time men and women were obsessed with a dream that they may find a world where there is all kind of happiness, all kind of goodness and comfort. This is the dream of every human being. Dream of king, dream of rich and poor, dream of ruler and ruled, both. But it is a sad aspect of history that no one was able to achieve this goal. You know, man is born with desires, unlimited desires. Everyone has a reservoir of desire in his heart, his mind. And always he tries to fulfill these desires. But no one was able to fulfill desire. Why? Because he tries to fulfill these desires in this present world. And this present world was not created for this purpose. According to the creation plan of God, this world was created as a testing ground. As a testing ground. Everyone is put on test. So it is not possible to achieve that kind of goal. The fatal aspect of this issue is that desires are unlimited. Desires are unlimited, but present world is limited. So how you can achieve unlimited desires in a limited world? There is a contradiction. The fatal type of contradiction. It is this contradiction that is eternally obstacle towards achieving our goal. So God, you have to know what is the God's scheme. God created man and God created this planet Earth, and that God created paradise. Paradise is place of happiness. All kind of happiness are provided in paradise. All kind of happiness, all kind of comfort, all kind of peace, everything is provided in this world. That is paradise. But everything is provided in this paradise that is eternal. Now, in this world, man is put on trial and test. So one who proves that he is a deserving candidate to be settled in paradise, he will be allotted an entry into paradise. There is also hell. God created paradise and hell both. So those who failed to follow the path of God, those who failed in this test, they will go to hell, that is paradise. About this hell, there is a verse in the Bible. There will be weeping and crying for all eternity. This is about hell. The paradise. So, about hell, there is a verse in the Bible that there will be weeping and crying for all eternity. This is hell. And then paradise is place of happiness, eternal happiness. Eternal happiness. There is no limitations in paradise. There is no limitations in paradise. There is no disadvantage. There is no pain. There is no death. There is no boredom. There is all kind of goodness are provided in paradise. So those who fail in this test, they will go to hell. And those who passed this test, they will go to paradise. This is the creation plan of God. Now, I would like to explain who are those fortunate people who will be allotted a house in the paradise. According to Islam, according to the detail given in the Quran, I can say that there are 3-point formula. It is 3-point agenda. One who follows this agenda, he will be able to find entry into paradise. In the Quran, if you study the Quran, you will find that there are 3 basic requirements. One, marifa. Marifa means realization of truth. Second, worship, God's worship. Third, at-tazkiyah, that is purification. So there are it is a 3-point formula. Now let us take the first. There is a hadith, the Prophet of Islam has said, Man qala la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah. One who says there is no God but one God, he will go to paradise. The same is repeated in the Quran also. The same you will find in the Quran also. فَأَصَابَهُمُ اللَّهُ بِمَا قَالُوا جَنَّاتٍ تَجْرِي مِن تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ. So Quran and Sunnah both tell us that the kalima is the first condition of paradise. La ilaha illallah. There is no God but one God. Now what is this kalima? It is not simply a recitation. It is not simply an utterance of some words. No. Saying La ilaha illallah is an announcement, of realization. It is an announcement that you have realized that there is no God but one God. So it is a kalima of realization, not simply a lip service. When the Greek philosopher said, Eureka, Eureka, that was not simply a word, that not simply a lip service. That was a realization. After realization, he said, Eureka, Eureka. So, one who studied Quran, one who observes the universe, the creature, one who contemplate. So after all these tafakkur and tadabbur, he reaches to a great discovery, a great realization that there is a God, the creator, behind this universe. God Almighty created this universe. He is Lord of the universe. He is sustainer of the universe. He is the giver. He is the giver, and we are taker. So when one discovers the glory of the one who, so when one discovers the glory of God, the existence of God, then he spontaneously say, there is God. I have realized that there is a God. You know, here I will to illustrate this point, I will give an example. During British period, there was a hunter, Jim Corbett. British hunter, Jim Corbett. So he was living in India, and he was a great hunter. He was fond of killing tigers. So he had published a book about the art of hunting. He says in this book that when you are traveling in a jungle, when you are walking in a jungle, and you notice that there is a tiger, living tiger, standing only few meters away from you. So it is a very horrible experience, horrible. He says that when you notice in a jungle that there is a living tiger, there is a living tiger standing only few yards before you, only few yards away from you. So at that time, your blood circulation turns to a blood storm. Your blood circulation becomes blood storm. There is a brainstorming in your mind. There is a revolution in your soul. There is a terrible experience. So, if this is the story of a man who discovers tiger, so what about that person who discovers the creator of tiger? God is the creator of tiger. Creator of tiger. God Almighty is the creator of tiger. So if discovery of tiger is so great, then what about the discovery of that person who discovers the existence of the creator of tiger? This is realization. So saying kalima, saying La ilaha illallah is not simply a lip service. It is a kalima of realization, a word of discovery, it is a word of finding. So this is the first condition. This kalima bring about. This kalima gives you an ideology. This kalima is not simply a sentence. It gives you an ideology. It gives you an ideology, greatest ideology. It gives you an ideology that is greatest of all the ideologies. It revolutionizes your thought, your personality. So when you discover the existence of God, when you discover this reality that there is no God but one God, then there is a great transformation in your personality. Now everything is changed. Your intention, your speech, your intention, your speech, your behavior, your character, your activities. There is a reorientation after kalima or after this discovery. There is a reorientation of your life. It is but natural. It is not possible that one discovers this great reality and he is without change. It is not possible. So saying there is no God but one God is just information that I have discovered the greatest truth. I have discovered the greatest ideology. So it's not very simple. So this is the first condition of paradise. One must discover God as an ideology. So after discovering this ideology, he says, La ilaha illallah. There is no God but one God. This is a statement of conviction. This is a statement of conviction. This is a statement of revolution. It is a statement of earthquake. It is not a very simple statement. So this is the first condition of paradise. That is saying La ilaha illallah. There is no God but one God. Then the second condition is ibadah or worship. There is a verse in the Quran that in the doomsday there will be a dialogue between people of hell and angels. This dialogue is narrated in the Quran. قالوا ما سلككم في سقر قالوا لم نكن من المصلين لم نكن من المصلين. Angel will ask those people who will go to hell, why you are here? Why this happened with you? They will say, Lam nako minal musallin. We were not observing salat or namaz. We were not an observer of salat with other people. So what is salat? Salat is not merely a set of rituals. Salat is not merely like a custom. Salat is not something formal. No. Salat is a living culture. Salat is a living culture. Salat means Salat culture. So when they say that we were not observing the Salat, in other words, they will say that we will fail to adopt the Salat culture. We fail to, they will say that we fail to adopt the Salat culture. Now, what is Salat culture? What is Salat culture? You see, when we observe Salat, what we do? We say Allahu Akbar. In our daily Salat, we repeat this word no less than about 250 times. We say again and again, Allahu Akbar. This is the first item of Salat culture. Allahu Akbar means God is great. Then God is great means I am not great. Other than God, there is no great. Only God is great. So Allahu Akbar means modesty. When one performs Salat, he accepts his position that he is not great. So saying Allahu Akbar is like inculcating a spirit of modesty in the musalli. So everyone, man or woman, who performs Salat, he must be honest. He must be modest. Modesty is an integral part of Salat culture. Modesty is the integral part of Salat culture. Then, in Salat, you bow down before God. This is submission. This is surrender to God. So, Salat culture inculcate in you the spirit of submission. Salat makes you a man of submission. It eradicates the arrogance. Salat eradicates the arrogance, eradicates the ego, all kind of pride and greatness. So Salat culture means living in submission, living in modesty, living without ego, living without arrogance. This is Salat culture. Then you know that we read some part of the Quran during our Salat, different part. In every Salat, we read some part from the Quran. this reading is also very important, very, very important. By this, you inculcate the spirit of Quran, the spirit of the Quran in yourself. By doing this, you inculcate the spirit of the Quran in yourself. Quran says about the Prophet, "Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim." Innaka la'ala khuluqin azim. So the wife of the Prophet, Aisha, says about the Prophet, "Kana khuluquhul Quran." Kana khuluquhul Quran. It means that the character of the Prophet was the character of Quran. Prophet was living in the Quranic character. So this is the lesson we find in every salat. So we have to adopt that character, that behavior, which is stated in the Quran and which we recite in the Quran every day. Every day. So this is the salat culture. Salat culture makes you to live according to the Quranic teachings, according to the Quranic spirit. Then, in the end, you say, "Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah," by turning your face this side and that side. So you are saying, you are conveying the message of peace to all mankind. All mankind. In the east and the west, everywhere. North and south. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. So you are sending this message that I have learned this message from the Quran, that I have to live with peace among you. It means that salat culture makes you a peaceful person. Salat culture makes you to live in a society. Salat culture makes you to live in your society as a peaceful member, as a harmless person. This is the salat culture. So first condition was marifa, that is realization of God. The second condition was salat culture. You have to adopt salat culture in your life. Then the third condition is tazkiyah. This condition is derived from this verse. Quran says about the paradise, "Zalika jazāu man tazakka." Zalika jazāu man tazakka. Paradise will be rewarded to those who are purified soul. Paradise will be given to those who are purified soul. Zalika جزاء من تزکا. Now what is this purification? Who are purified soul? You know, man is born not like an angel. Angels have no negative thought. Angels have no evil thought. Angels are every time purified soul. But man is not. Man is born with freedom. Angels have no freedom. All other items of the universe have no freedom. Stars, planet, sun, mountain, ocean, they have no freedom. So is the case of angels. Angels have no freedom. But man has. Now, when you have freedom, then there is every possibility to misuse this freedom. Freedom is a double-edged sword. You have two choices, either to misuse or either to proper use. So it is this misuse of freedom that creates problem. And man misuses every time. So misuse of freedom is when you misuse your freedom, you are going against the purification. So because of this freedom, every time you will feel something negative. You will feel in anger, in malice, in arrogance, in intolerance, in lust. So you have to save yourself from these negative thoughts. This is purification. Every time when Satan touches you and inject in yourself some negative thoughts, every time you feel some evil feeling, it is act of Satan. When Satan touches you, then you feel all kind of evil thought and negativity. So you have to be alert. You have to eradicate all those negative feelings. This is purification. It is your duty to fight against Satan. Satan tries to Satan is your enemy. Satan is your enemy. So you have to fight Satan. Every time when Satan injects some kind of evil feeling, you have to eradicate all that feelings. You have to use your freedom, your willpower. You have to use your mind. This is purification. So you have to convert your negativity into positivity. This is purification. This is all this is the test. So you have to try to purify. You have to try to eradicate all those negative feelings like anger, arrogance. This is purification of soul. Without eradicating all these negative thoughts, you will be victim of Satan and you will go to hell. And one who purifies his soul, he will go to paradise.